If you are struggling to memorize Surah Al Hajj, or maybe you have memorized it and you find it to be difficult whenever you recite it, no matter how much you revise, then there might be a few things that you might have been missing. So, guys, I'm revising Surah Hajj, and let me share how I revise it. Maybe some of you can find it to be helpful. So, I do it like that. The first ruku, if we talk about, we will go ruku by ruku. First ruku, first 10 ayah, I divide it into two parts. Initially from the first ayah to the fourth, and then from the fifth to the 10th ayah. And the reason I'm dividing it is because the first four ayah are small ayah comparatively, and we can easily do that, so it's an easy part. And from the fifth ayah onward till the 10th ayah, there are the longest ayah of this surah. When we just start ya ayyuhan nasu ittaqu, it's the easiest ayah. You won't find any difficulty in revising them. Then if you are first time memorizing this surah, repeating it again and again, you will be okay with that ayah. And the opening ayah of this surah is a really famous one, and if you move forward, you will see that you have the second ayah, it's also the easiest one, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ. Then the third ayah, Man yujadilu fillahi bighayri ilm. This ayah, it comes three times again and again. If you look at ayah number 8 and ayah number 11 of this surah on the next page, you will see that we have وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يُجَادِلُ فِي اللَّهِ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ. Same as ayah number 8, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يُجَادِلُ فِي اللَّهِ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ. But there we have وَلَا هُدًى. But here we have in ayah number 3, وَيَتَّبِعُ كُلَّ شَيْطَانٍ مَرِيضٍ. So these two ayah can be tricky to do that, because if mutashabihat are in the same surah or same juz that you are currently memorizing or revising, then it get difficult. It's be challenging, because the ayah that you are revising right now, and when you move forward, you will have a similarity, a portion, a similar phrase, and there are chances that while you were revising the next portion of that similar ayah, maybe you will jump back to the previous one, or maybe when you start reciting it after memorizing it, revising it, then maybe you can jump from the first one to the second one. So this gets challenging. So you have to be very cautious. You have to be focused when you are reciting these kind of surah. When we look at third ayah, there is another ayah similar to this, the ayah number 11. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَعْبُدُ اللَّهَ عَلَى حَرْفٍ. But it has only a small portion that is similar to this, so it can be easily done. Moving forward, Kutiba alayhi annahu man tawalla. This is simple. You can do that. When you come at ayah number 5, this is the longest ayah of this surah, Surah Al-Hajj. You can check the entire surah, but you won't find any ayah longer than this ayah. If it's long ayah, so you have to take pauses. You can listen to the reciter and look at the places where they pause, and you can mark on the musaf the places where you can take pause. And we also have ta, jim, and those pauses, you can take pause on that. This ayah also has a similarity with an ayah of Surah Al-Mu'minun, ayah number 67. There was a time I always jump back to Juz 24 when I try to recite this surah. So you have to take care of this. And also, if we look at Surah An-Nahl, ayah number 70, we have this similarity in this ayah. You can see that. Ayah number 6 of this surah, ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الْحَقُّ. This also is similar to ayah number 62 of this same surah, Surah Al-Hajj. In the ayah number 62, we have ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الْحَقُّ وَأَنَّ مَا يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِهِ هُوَ الْبَاطِلُ. But here we have in ayah number 6, ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الْحَقُّ وَأَنَّهُ يُحْيِي الْمَوْتَى وَأَنَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. Okay, the last ayah of the first ruku, the 10th ayah of Surah Hajj, it's a little bit difficult. It has a similarity with it is ذَلِكَ بِمَا قَدَّمَتْ يَدَاكَ, but we read that ذَلِكَ بِمَا قَدَّمَتْ أَيْدِيكُمْ وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَيْسَ بِظَلَّامٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ. And where we read that? In Surah Anfal, Juz 10. If you look at the third ruku, you see that ذَلِكَ بِمَا قَدَّمَتْ أَيْدِيكُمْ وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَيْسَ بِظَلَّامٍ. But here we have ذَلِكَ بِمَا قَدَّمَتْ يَدَاكَ. Moving forward in the second ruku, you have to take care of a few ayah. These ayah have some mutashabih, similar to some ayah in other portion of the Quran. So first we have ayah number 12 and 13. They have the same starting. So chances are maybe you won't find it difficult, but I don't want to take risk. Maybe sometime what happens is yad'u, starting the first one, ayah number 12, I jump to the ayah number 13, the next ayah, yad'u. laman daru instead of yad'u min dunillah. So you need to take care of this also. And then we have inna allaha yudkhilu alladhina amanu wa amilus salihati. This ayah is similar to an ayah which is starting on the next page. The next ruku basically starting from the same ayah, and this is the longest ayah that is similar in this surah. They have more than one line that is similar. I'm talking about ayah number 14, this ayah, and ayah number 23. These two are almost similar, but what's the hint? What I do is the first time when I'm reciting it, I know that it is in between a ruku, so I would take a waqf, and this time I would take a waqf on anhar. Anhar, إن الله يدخل الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار إن الله يفعل ما يريد. And on the second time, I won't take a waqf, because if I take a waqf, then they both become similar, and chances are I would jump back to the first one. So second time when I'm reciting it, I won't take a waqf. I would just say anharu yuhallawna. And yuhallawna, this word should be in your mind when you are reciting it, because this is the turning point. If you don't say this word, then you will automatically jump to the previous one. And there are few ayat that is similar to this ayat also. In Allah yudkhilul lazina amanu. If you look at Surah Al-Muhammad Juz 26, there also we have a starting of a ruku, same like this ayah. Jannatin tajri, same like in Allah yudkhilul lazina amanu in Surah Muhammad, ayat number 12. If you look at, there is a starting of the second ruku of Surah Muhammad basically. So you have to take care of this. And there is this thing that if an ayah is similar to two different ayah, and one is in juz first and the second one is juz 11, then you find yourself to be jumping to that juz that is more solid, or I would say that you have recently revised, because that is fresh in your memory. So chances are when you are reciting similar to that you have recently revised, you will jump back to that juz that you have recently revised. This is what I find about mutashabihat. Just like that in ayah number 16, وَكَذَلِكَ أَنزَلْنَا, and this comes multiple times, like in Surah Taha, which I recently revised. So I find myself jumping to Surah Taha ayah number 113. And in Surah Rad we also see this وَكَذَلِكَ أَنزَلْنَاهُ حُكْمًا عَرَبِيًّا. There we have hukman, but here we have وَكَذَلِكَ أَنزَلْنَاهُ ayatim. But in Surah Taha we have وَكَذَلِكَ أَنزَلْنَاهُ Qur'anan. We have to take care of this ayah also. Then we have the إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. It is a mutashabiha, and I have also made a video about this, how you can memorize it. وَالصَّابِئِينَ وَالنَّصَارَى وَالْمَجُوسَ. We have similarity this ayah of Surah Al-Hajj with Surah Al-Baqarah and Surah Al-Ma'idah, and I have made a video about it. It's not in English. I would try and dubbing that into English. Inna Allah ala kulli shay'in shaheed. This phrase, this comes multiple times in the Quran if you look at, so you have to take care of this. Alam tara anna Allah yasjudu. This is going to be okay. Kullama aradu an yakhruju minha min ghammin u'idu fiha wadhuqu azab al-hariq. This phrase wadhuqu azab al-hariq, I find it to be difficult. Why I'm saying this? Because I find myself always, every time, until and unless I am focused, this is the point at azab al-hariq, the ruku is ending and I have to start a new ruku, and starting of the ruku is a mutashabiha, and that is inna Allah yudkhilul lazina amanu, similar to the ayah that I read previously. But instead of azab al-hariq, if I am not focused, I am enough, then I find myself jumping to Surah Anfal. There we have same وَذُوقُوا عَذَابَ الْحَرِيقِ, and after that ذَلِكَ بِمَا قَدَّمَتْ أَيْدِيكُمْ وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَيْسَ بِظَلَّامٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ. I read it like that, وَذُوقُوا عَذَابَ الْحَرِيقِ ذَلِكَ بِمَا قَدَّمَتْ أَيْدِيكُمْ, which is wrong because I am jumping to Surah Anfal, ayah number 50. So I have to take care of this. For me, this part is difficult, challenging, because of this mutashabiha. Then moving forward, we have the smallest ruku, the third ruku of this surah, and this only has 3 ayah. But for me, it is the most difficult. Why? Because let me tell you, the first ayah, at the first place, as I told you, I go to Surah Anfal before the starting of the first ayah of this ruku. I go to Surah Anfal, then the beginning is wrong. If I say the first ayah correctly, then moving forward to in this ayah, jannatin tajri min tahtiha al-anharu yuhallawna fiha min asawira min zahabin wa lu'lu'a. Well, this phrase, zahabin wa lu'lu'a wa libasum fiha harir, as soon as this ayah ends, there is a similar ayah to this, and that we have in Juz 22. in Surah Fatir, from Jannat towards the end of this ayah. We have same, only just a few difference. Like there we have Jannat wa adnin tajri min tahtiha al-anhar yuhalluna fiha, same. So walibasum fiha harir. From there I jump to Surah Fatir. So that we have to take care of. And then moving forward, we have in this phrase, Bahudu ila siratil aziz al-hamid. 24, ayah number 24 ends with this. But if you look at ila siratil aziz al-hamid, I said, again I said wrong. Here we have siratil hamid, but I read it Siratil Aziz Al Hamid. Addition of this word coming because we have Surah Ibrahim and Surah Sabah. This phrase is there. Same as that we have Ila Siratil Hamid here, but at there we have Ila Siratil Aziz Al Hamid in Surah Fatir, in Surah Sabah, sorry, in Surah Sabah and in Surah Ibrahim. First ayah of Surah Ibrahim, if you look at the ending of that ayah, is with the same phrase, Ila Siratil Aziz Al Hamid. So here we have Sirat Al Hamid, but I, because of those surah, I read it like Ila Sirat Al Aziz Al Hamid. So I make this mistake here on the second ayah also. Then in Alladhina Kafaru Yasudduna, this is the only ayah which I end up reciting correctly. You know why we find surahs to be difficult for us? Because we don't know what are the challenges, what are the gray areas that we look for. If we don't know what ayah are similar to what surah, actually in this video I have told you a lot of mutashabihat. You might be thinking you just telling the mutashabihat, but knowing the mutashabihat doesn't matter. And you have to come up with techniques. This thing should be in your mind, that I am reciting this page of this surah, and this page has this ayah, and this ayah is similar to that ayah of those surah. And you have, if this mind map, basically a mind map should be in your mind. This mind map, you are able to create the mind map in your brain, then any surah will be easy for you. I'm trying to help you creating a mind map. You have to understand that the ayat that are similar to other surah, that should be in your mind. Otherwise, only revising and repeating it again and again won't going to help you. You have to come up with hints. Like here we have this word, but there we don't have. You have to be conscious when you are reciting a difficult surah, and only then you can be able to recite a difficult surah, and it will become easier for you. Then moving forward, we have the most famous ayah, the ayat of Hajj, and that's the reason that we have this surah named as Al-Hajj. These are, well, if you try to memorize them, these are easier to do, because if you look at the translation of these ayah, it won't be difficult for you to memorize. But there are some phrases I want you to look at, because these phrases are similar. They come twice in these ayah, and I want you to memorize this ruku from ayah number 26 up until ayah number 38. I want you to memorize these two ruku, revise these two ruku together, because they both have similar ayah. We have to do them together so that we can differentiate them and create a link. So first I just give you some phrases, the phrases that are coming twice. First we have Bahimatil An'am. This comes two times. First time when it comes, you look at ayah number 28, we have Bahimatil An'am fakulu minha wa at'imul ba'is al faqir, which also comes twice, fakulu minha wa at'imu. So first we have Bahimatil An'am. Bahimatil An'am in 28 ayah, the next word is fakulu. We have to memorize it, and looking at the translation, we can easily differentiate. And then second time we have in ayah number 34, we have Bahimatil An'am. There is a waqf, and then fa ilahukum ilahum wahidun falahu aslimu, and then we have fakulu minha وَأَطْعِمُوا الْبَائِسَ الْفَقِيرِ. Then on the second time, then when we have this فَكُلُوا مِنْهَا وَأَطْعِمُوا الْقَانِعَ وَالْمُعْتَرِ. So you have to differentiate these two phrases. And then we have وَمَنْ يُعَذِّمْ حُرُمَاتِ اللَّهِ. Ha comes first. Then we have afterwards وَمَنْ يُعَذِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ. Sheen comes afterwards in Haruf Tahajji. This would help you. Now we have entered the second half of this surah, the sixth ruku. Basically, this surah has 10 ruku, so sixth becomes the first ruku of the second part. So this ruku, basically things get tough from this. So I find it to be difficult, because there are a few things in this ruku that you have to take care of. First, in Surah Baqarah we have وَلَوْلَا دَفْعُ اللَّهِ النَّاسَ بَعْدَهُم بِبَعْدٍ لَفَسَدَتِ الْأَرْضُ. Almost at the end, second last ayah of second juz, we have this لَفَسَدَتِ الْأَرْضُ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ ذُو فَضْلٍ عَلَى الْعَالَمِينَ. But here we have لَهُدِّمَتْ سَوَامِعُ, that we have to take care of. And then we have aqamu salata wa atu zakat wa amaru bil ma'ruf. This comes multiple time in Quran, but I don't find them to be difficult. I find the difficult in this ruku. The ayah faka ayyim min qaryatin, this and ayah number 48, because these two are similar. Waka ayyim min qaryatin. So if you look at faka ayyim waka ayyim, we can differentiate that fa comes first and va then. Okay, when we move forward, min qaryatin, we have same this. Amlaytu laha ahlakna. Okay, we can differentiate this also. Then we have wahiya, zalimatun, same. Only the different at the end. Thumma akhaztuha fahiya khawiyatun ala urushiha. This is really challenging for me. And then we have this fatakuna lahum qulubun ya'qiluna biha. This phrase, afalam yasiru fil ardi fatakuna lahum qulubun ya'qiluna biha. If you look at Surah Yusuf, ayah number 109, we have afalam yasiru fil ardi fa yanzuru. Here we have fatakuna and fayanzuru. So it can be challenging. So we have to take care of this. There are two things: the ending part of this ayah and the starting part of this ayah. And most of the time, if ending of an ayah is similar to another ayah, then there are more chances that you will jump to that ayah because of the ending is same. So you have to keep in mind the starting of the next ayah also. So let's talk about this. وَيَسْتَعْجِلُونَكَ بِالْعَذَابِ is also in Surah Ar-Ra'd. We have وَيَسْتَعْجِلُونَكَ بِالسَّيِّئَةِ, but there we have سَيِّئَةِ. So بِالْعَذَابِ, if you say that بِالْعَذَابِ, then you are okay. But again, then we have Surah Ankabut, Juz 21, we have وَيَسْتَعْجِلُونَكَ بِالْعَذَابِ وَلَوْلَا أَجَلٌ مُّسَمًّى لَجَاءَهُمُ الْعَذَابُ. So that can also be a challenge for us. So we have to take care of this, that we have to be focused, that we are reciting Surah Al-Hajj. We have يَسْتَعْجِلُونَكَ بِالْعَذَابِ وَلَن يُخْلِفَ اللَّهُ وَعْدَهُ. And then ending of this, you look at كَأَلْ في سنة مما تعدون. If you look at Surah As-Sajdah in Juz 21, in this surah we have Al-Fasana. Here we have Al-Fisana. There we have Al-Fasana mimma ta'uddun. Anyways, moving forward, we have the next ruku, the 7th ruku of this Surah Al-Hajj. And from this ruku, from 7th, 8th and 9th ruku, I find them to be most challenging. The ultimate difficulty level is at these. When we start this surah, the starting is somehow, you can manage this. It's easier. And moving forward, it becomes tougher. And by the time you reach at these ruku, the difficulty is at its maximum level. I find it to be most challenging. Now let's see what are the difficult ayah in these rukus. So starting from the first ayah that I find to be challenging is وَالَّذِينَ سَعُوا فِي آيَاتِنَا, the ayah number 51. In the 7th ruku, we can see that وَالَّذِينَ سَعُوا فِي آيَاتِنَا مُعَاجِزِينَ أُولَٰئِكَ. From this part until this part, we have same. Just like this, we have in Surah Saba. Almost at the starting of Surah Saba, we can see that in the 5th ayah, we have وَالَّذِينَ سَعُوا فِي آيَاتِنَا مُعَاجِزِينَ أُولَٰئِكَ. There we have أُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ مِّن رِجْزٍ أَلِيمٌ. Here we have أُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ الْجَحِيمِ. And then next ayah, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن قَبْلِكَ مِن رَسُولٍ وَلَا نَبِيٍّ. Here we have وَلَا نَبِيٍّ, and in the same juz, in this juz number 17, if we look at the surah before this surah Anbiya, we have 2 times this kind of ayah. We have in the first ruku and in the second ruku. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن قَبْلِكَ مِن رَسُولٍ إِلَّا رِجَالًا نُوحِي إِلَيْهِمْ فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ. We have this, and then in the second time, then we have in Surah Anbiya, we have وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن قَبْلِكَ مِن رَسُولٍ إلا نوحي إليه أنه لا إله إلا أنا فاعبدون. But here we have ولا نبي ولا يزال الذين كفروا, the ayah number 55 of Surah Hajj. If you look at, we have almost this part, almost same as we have in Surah Ar-Ra'd in Juz 13. If you look at near about the ending, ayah number 31 of Surah Ar-Ra'd, we have وَلَا يَزَالُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا تُصِيبُهُم بِمَا صَنَعُوا قَارِعَةٌ. That's the ayah. And وَلَا يَزَالُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا فِي مِرْيَةٍ مِّنْهُ. Here we have فِي مِرْيَةٍ, and there we have وَلَا يَزَالُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا تصيبهم بما صنعوا قارعة. Now you might be thinking I am telling you just mutashabihat. Some of the people, they have this mindset that I don't need to know about tashabihat, because they think that if some ayah are mutashabihat for somebody, may not be for me. And this was the mindset that I had back then. But in this Ramadan, something changed, guys. When I was reciting in Taraweeh in Ramadan, almost in short amount of time, we revised the entire Quran, and then the entire Quran was solid. When I was reciting some of the ayat that I used to think that these ayat, I don't find them to be challenging, although they are mutashabihat, but these are not for me. Maybe someone else find them to be mutashabihat for them, but I don't find them to be. But when I was reciting in Salah in Tarabi, I faced that. I just messed up there. I just, jumped to another surah. Those became mutashabiyat for me, in fact. And that is the time when I realized that when some portion of the Quran is solid and not the entire Quran, we at that moment of time, we think that I don't face this mutashabiyat. But when entire Quran becomes solid, you reach a stage. This is only my experience. Maybe you can disagree. I would suggest that you have to look at the mutashabihat. You must know that these are the mutashabihat. And at that point, I was stuck there. I couldn't able to come out of that loop of mutashabihat. I couldn't able to, move forward in the surah that I was reciting, because I never looked at that ayah as mutashabihat. So I wasn't ready for it. I think I should have looked at those mutashabiyat as well, so that I have a rescue point. I can come out of that loop of mutashabiyat. But anyways, when you continue reciting Quran, you reach a point where you no longer find any mutashabiyat, because the entire Quran becomes so no longer remain challenging for you. But before reaching to this stage, I think you have to go through this intense, confused, mixed up state of mutashabihat, and after that you reach the stage where you no longer find anything to be confusing for you. Anyways, let's talk about the eighth ruku. We can see that we have here some of the ayat that comes multiple time in the Quran, like yulijul layla fin nahari zalika bi anna Allah yulijul layla fin nahari wa yulijul nahari, the ayat number 61. And then we have the zalika bi anna Allah huwa al-haqq wa anna ma yad'una min duni. If you look at Surah Luqman, ayat number 30, we have this zalika bi anna Allah huwa al-haqq wa anna ma yad'una min dunihi al-batilu min dunihi huwa al-batilu. Here we have min dunihi huwa al-batilu, and there we have min dunihi al-batilu. So that's the difference from ayah 62 of Hajj to the ayah 30 of Surah Luqman. And the phrase alam tara anna Allah, if we look at this, we have in Surah Luqman alam tara anna Allah. The second one, this one is similar to the one we have in Surah Luqman. We have two times in Surah Luqman. First one is alam tara anna Allah, and the second time we just have alam tara anna al-fulka. So we can say that in Surah Hajj, because Surah Hajj is comparatively bigger to Surah Luqman, so we have more phrases, more words in Surah Al Hajj. The portion, the version that comes in Surah Al Hajj, it has more words to it. Like we have in Surah Hajj, alam tara anna Allah sakhara lakum ma fil ardi. This anna Allah sakhara lakum ma fil ardi, this is additional. If we look at Surah Luqman, we don't have this in Surah Luqman. We just have alam tara anna al-fulka likulli ummatin ja'alna man sakanhum. This is exactly same as we have read in the ayah number 34, walikulli ummatin. There we have va, here we have only just likulli ummatin. So the difference is, there we have walikulli ummatin ja'alna man sakan li yadhkuru ismullah, but here we have man sakan hum nasikuhu fala yunazi'unnaka fillah. So that's the difference in these two ayah, and most of the time people mix up these two. Then we have Allahu yahkumu bainakum yawmal qiyamati fima kuntum fihi takhtalifun. Just like that, we have at the end of Juz 14, we can see that we have wa inna rabbaka la yahkumu bainahum yawmal qiyamati fima kanu fihi yakhtalifun. So the difference, if you look at, there we have yakhtalifun, here we have takhtalifun. Okay, and bainahum and kanu in Surah Nahl, if you look at last page of Juz 14, bainahum and kanu, we have bainahum there and kanu, and here we have bainakum and kuntum. Allahu yahkumu bainakum, there we have wa inna rabbaka la yahkumu bainahum yawmal qiyamati fima kanu, and yawmal qiyamati fima kuntum in Surah Hajj. That's the difference in these two. Then we have وَيَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ, and this phrase, this comes multiple times, like we have in Surah Nahl, ayah number 73. We can see that we have وَيَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ مَا لَا يَضُرُّهُمْ وَلَا يَنفَعُهُم. And then in Surah Yunus we have وَيَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِهِ مَا لَمْ يُنَزِّلْ بِهِ سُلْطَانًا وَهُمُ النَّارُ بِئْسَ مَثْوَى الظَّالِمِينَ. وَيَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ, this comes multiple times, like if you look at Surah Nahl, ayah number 73, we have this, there is a slight difference. and then Surah Yunus, ayah number 18, we have this. So it's really tough surah. I understand this, but if you focus on the area that are making you feel like this is difficult, you have to work on those areas. If you don't work on those areas and continue repeating it, it won't going to work, guys. You have to look on the ayat that are similar, the mutashabihat. Only then you will be able to memorize this surah. And this last ruku, this is really favorite. Most of the reciter like to recite this in Salah. Ya ayyuhan nasu duriba masalun fastami'u lah. I also recommend that you should be reciting this in your Salah. Make it a part of your Salah. And thank you so much for watching this video. I think this is helpful. I'm trying new stuff. You can drop a comment and let me know if it was helpful. And I'll see you in the next video.